Welcome to M Squared TechCast.
Hey, it's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And you're watching the M Squared TechCast at podcastdetroit.com and on Facebook and on a whole bunch of other places.
Gosh, who knows, you know? So
a million different places.
Well, that's the point, right?
Okay.
So we have with us Fred Brown, who I got invited to his lavish Christmas party. Thank you, Fred. And got to meet him. And since then, I've got a chance to background him and understand a little bit from where he comes from. But one of the things I wanted to mention, I don't know how many of you saw the third segment where we had Grace from Warmerloo on there. And I know she's turned to you for help and advice. Maybe we should start there and just kind of keep that thread going.
Sure.
So how did that all work out?
Well, I got introduced to Grace through the Entrepreneurial Network in southeastern Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and she had an interesting technology, was still kind of getting her degree, but at the same time commercializing a new business. And that's something I specialize in my consulting business, is growing businesses. And so it's been great fun to work with her. She's very enthusiastic and has just a tremendous amount
Yeah,
of
she is
energy.
a wee bit enthusiastic there, but that's
just a
good,
little,
right? You want
yeah.
that in an entrepreneur, right? So,
Enthusiasm is critical.
Yes,
Nothing great is accomplished without enthusiasm. I think that was Emerson, as I recall.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So tell us a little bit about your background. How did you happen to wind up, in kind of what you're doing now in sort of medical entrepreneurial consulting?
I've been doing this for a while. I have a degree, several degrees in technology areas, so medicinal biochemistry and earth sciences, material sciences, as well as an MBA. And so I use these degrees in order to kind of look at the intersection of business and technology and understand how to grow businesses and new technologies, create competitive advantages in those businesses, and then help my clients become successful. And luckily, I've had a few of my clients have become successful.
Yeah. So just one last reference to Grace. She's going to have to give me that $100 after the show. But so what did you see in her product that really got you excited?
Well, I've done a lot of work in the device space in lesser developed countries.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I've helped develop or led development of 27 major pharmaceutical products. About 15 different devices, 6 vaccines. Every year that saves about 5.6 million people.
Wow.
And it's created about $35 billion of revenue each year.
Wow.
For the companies that I consulted to. And Grace's technology was really interesting. It really filled an unmet medical need, which is pain management as well as cold and children dying of cold in lesser developed countries. And unless you have an electrical blanket, frequently these patients will die. Sometimes they burn to death because they're get too close to fires, open fires and open flame. And so Grace has this new technology that suddenly, through chemical techniques, are able to warm infants, and that really saves probably about 140 lives a day.
Wow, that's amazing.
So talk a little bit about, the process you go through to evaluate a medical device idea. What is it going to do? Is there, incumbent technology that maybe has an advantage? How do you attack that?
Well, there are kind of 4 things that I look at closely in a technology, in any kind of startup. The first question, especially in healthcare or pharmaceutics, the first area is the technology itself. Is it patent protected? It's a highly regulated industry. It has to be patent protected.
Sure.
And it has to fill an unmet medical need. So then you look at the market space, which is the second big area that we tend to evaluate, understand whether it's growing, whether it's declining. If it's in decline, it's harder to penetrate those markets. If it's highly competitive, then they're harder to enter. If it's wide open with a new technology, it's highly patented. That becomes very interesting. Third big area we look at is the team. Grace had a great team, a lot of support in the community as well as around the world. And finally, we look at the financial deal itself. And what can be used, because it's easier to create technology in this space and create value. It's something that's very hard to capture it, as you pointed out. In generalism, that can happen as well.
Right. And the other thing, for instance, her issue is she's right on the edge of explosive growth. And that's really the tricky part for a lot of companies, right?
So it's hard to grow profitably. Sometimes you can grow and you can make a huge investment in the growth areas, and you realize at the end of the day that your cash flow has run out.
Yes.
Or you can scale back a little bit and then have sufficient cash flow but not grow as fast, and suddenly competitive pressures come in and start to eat your market away. So there's a careful balance you've got to achieve in that space.
Right. Okay.
So talk a little bit, we hear a lot about these big technologies of the kind of things that Automation Alley is talking about, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, all this stuff. Tell me how that is affecting your world in terms of medical device development, drug development.
Well, the answer is a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah. But how? Yeah.
But how?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I worked recently with a large group that was funded by the Blues, by Google, and by Intel. So these are companies that are coming together wanting to look at big data in a new way. The Blues, the insurance companies, are interested in being able to predict successfully which patients are likely to get what diseases when and how much it will cost them.
Wow.
And so we've developed learning algorithms around that. And in order to there's a difference between sort of expert systems where you replicate an expert decision-making process and a true learning system. True learning systems, if you don't have 15 to 20 million data sets running through your algorithms all the time so they're learning constantly, you won't have sufficient scale and capability in the system. So
to make good predictions.
Yeah. You get better and better as it learns and sees more instances of a situation. So in this case, we could predict with a great deal of accuracy what patients were the worst patients to insure, what they were likely to come down with, how to get in front of that and chase them more effectively, and then how to create policies that were designed for them so they wouldn't bankrupt themselves in the process of getting cured.
So more of a preventive medicine approach by using AI?
There were several components of it. One of that was just reducing back office costs. So you're talking about, in AI, you're talking about systems that are able to work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, never get sick, are always right, basically.
Hopefully.
Where they have a very, let's say,
We'll talk to Hal about that.
Yeah.
Have a very low error rate.
Yeah. Low, that's better. Yeah, I'm always right.
And so the insurance companies are trying to reduce the cost of managing these very increasingly complex environments.
Right.
And the second big thing is then being able to predict and be able to make a more profitable business out of what they currently do.
Sure.
So there's that area of just making your current business better, and then there are other companies like Individualytics, Genomenon, other companies like that actually change what you can do. So making telemedicine, for example, simply getting a medium out there that makes your current business, run more effectively, gives you an alternative. These other companies are actually creating brand new techniques, brand new capabilities through the AI. And that's the area that really excites me even more than simply automating old stuff.
Right.
It's actually creating something new. And so we're now today, for example, managing multiple chronic conditions well. That's a new capability that the AI can give you that certain companies are focusing on right now.
Where does remote medicine fit into that? Because I recently had a relative who had a congestive heart failure crisis, and they took like 17 pounds of water out of him. So that's
really?
And I know there are and he lives in kind of a remote area where it's kind of a pain in the butt for him to go to the hospital because it's an hour away. And there are scales where you can tell if someone's putting on weight really fast, which generally means water weight. When you have congestive heart failure, that's a problem. So where are we on stuff like that being widely adopted?
Actually,
because I was sort of like, why didn't you know this? I mean, you knew something was wrong. It was like
it's the frog in the kettle. You don't
Yeah.
really notice it yourself. It's hard to monitor unless you're actually taking pretty discrete measurements. And today, to their credit, the government started to reimburse people for remote medicine. And that was one of the big problems that we had in the past. But today, I tend to like watches that have longer battery life because you can sleep with them. Sleep is also a big factor in health versus having two watches. So there are some watches like Fitbit that have a 24-hour capability and battery life, and then you can attach them in all these new devices. And it's not just weight devices anymore. It's actually looking at your EKG in quite a bit of detail. It's looking at pulse oximetry. It's looking at a whole bunch of things which simultaneously give you a much better picture of the patient in real time and all the time. Versus just at point levels. And so if you think about the cycle of care, in the past, we kind of treated the patient, let them go, they went back home, we lost control of them completely, and then all of a sudden they reappeared
at the emergency room.
With 17 pounds of extra water in their system.
Yeah.
And now we can actually monitor that.
Okay.
So what are some of the, in the medical device area or in general, what are some of the real hot new technologies you're taking a look at right now?
So one of them is an immunomodulation, and I'm working with a company that's came out of the University of Michigan also, and they actually have ways of in real time looking at the amount of response your immune system has based on your genetics and based on what the medicine you're taking, and very complex medicines like what they call CAR T therapies, checkpoint therapies, if you've heard of those in oncology. they can actually see what the response to the immune system is and actually quite precisely medicate that person. So these combination drug with diagnostic therapies are going to be the future, and then that'll be in precision medicine tomorrow.
And of course, cloning, they say, and I've been hearing this for a long time, that you'll be able to clone just about every organ in your body, maybe not your brain. There's some debate on whether you can do that. But everything else, yeah? That means so you won't have to worry about rejection and things like that?
Yeah, especially in the areas, I think as cloning, you'll see a lot more kidneys coming out of pigs, for example, things like that. But much better immunomodulation, again, to allow the acceptance of these new pieces. And you'll be able to basically replace pieces that you need as you need them.
And as we're needing them more and more, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
I've got a fake knee now,
good to know.
yeah,
So,
in fact, a number of companies I worked with one company that's actually creating animals that are actually genetically engineered to have these human diseases, and then you can treat the human disease in the animal, see if it is effective. And for example, in gene therapy, cell therapies, which are the big future therapies, coming through the pipe right now, these animal models are going to be very important in understanding, calibrating the therapies.
Well, that's also a material science advance, I know, too, because there's a company in Ann Arbor that has spliced spider genes into silkworms and is making silk that's as strong as spiderweb fibers, which are incredibly strong. So that's
the new Kevlar, right?
Yeah, that's very advanced fabrics, very advanced textiles. So, that's a really interesting play, too.
The gene splicing piece is getting to be remarkable. I work with a number of large companies and helping them treat both with chemicals as well as create new products, and it's remarkable what's coming out right now. Cottons that are able to be resistant to flooding, things like that, which I think is going to help.
Can they make it resistant to spilling spaghetti sauce on myself? That's what I really
no.
They do have better. They do have non-absorbent fibers.
It'll just bounce off.
And they have super absorbent.
I look good in whatever I'm eating. That's
Except for
all I
that
can say.
meatball coming down your chest, So can't do much about that.
Okay. Thanks. We've got just a couple of minutes left, so tell people how they can reach you and hear more about the services you offer.
My name is Fred Brown. I run Fred Brown Management Consulting. Feel free to give me a call. I'm in the book, but also feel free to write to me as well. fred.brown.ch@gmail.com is probably the easiest way for anyone to reach me. I'd be happy to respond back. I'm also on LinkedIn with a whole slew of
You have 23,000 followers on LinkedIn. I'm impressed, So.
Wow. That's a network.
Oh, well, I do. Well, one of the things is I work across pharmaceutical industry and device industry. I work in the provider industry, and I work in the insurer industry. And very few people do all three of those simultaneously because the incentives today aren't aligned.
Right.
But
they're usually fighting each other.
Yeah.
They're usually fighting. Yeah. In the future, you're going to see more and more convergence on value-based billings, and that'll help the patient and it'll help people. I know you're interested in STEM technology.
Yeah.
And I can just tell you that consumers are going to become much more involved in their health care in the future. They have to be because it's costing so much more money. It's not
the incentives are all screwed up. I don't care what it costs. I just want to get better. That's.
And STEM technology, if you really study and understand your body better and human physiology better, you can save your own life.
Additional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.